Simon, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Antoine. Thanks for inviting me.
You've been opening companies since you were a kid. I mean, I saw company after company. Did you always want to become an entrepreneur? Is there someone in your family that's an entrepreneur? Where does this come
hmm
from?
It's a good question. When I was younger, I never thought I would be an entrepreneur, and I come from so my dad is an engineer, my mom's a teacher, my sister is now a dentist, and growing up, it was more going towards like a scientific jobs or even engineer. That was like kind of the target. And around the age of 14, my parents sent me to Lebanon, where I got to hang out with my grandfather on my mom's side, who was an entrepreneur. He had like hardware stores in Venezuela, and like he was just this like very eccentric, like I don't want to say crazy, but he was just like very different from anybody else I we have in the family. A lot of different energy, and we spent the summer. I spent the summer at their house, and he would drive me around to like the little markets around Lebanon, and he was negotiating prices. And from growing up in Canada, we don't negotiate anything. It's like whatever the price is, you pay and you leave. And he was like really hardcore negotiating, and I thought it was so cool. And he really kind of like triggered that side of me. Came back from that trip, and I was really like interested. Like I bought a book, like the very standard, like getting to yes in negotiations, you know. So I was really curious about that, and it kind of like shifted my like it opened up my idea of like what my career can be or what I can achieve. And based on that very like simple encounter with my grandfather, like not simple, but like for him it was just he just would I would tag along really. He didn't like try to teach me anything. It was just like, hey, come with me, we're going to the market, and he was just doing his regular routine. That really triggered a lot of changes in my mind. And yeah, so I came back, started reading about business, started reading about like other things and what I was used to at school, and eventually like just one thing led to another, and I would try to find opportunities, try to build stuff, tried a lot of different things, failed many times, tried again, failed again, succeeded at some, learned a lot, and I was very lucky to have the career I had so far. Just the learning of different things, meeting people. That's really where it started with my grandfather.
Simon, I gotta ask, entrepreneurship comes with a lot of challenges. Did you have mentors? Was it your grandfather, or did you have people around you along the way that helped you out?
Yeah. So my grandfather unfortunately passed away like shortly, not shortly, but like a few years after, like before I really started understanding what entrepreneurship was or like even understanding what I was doing. So my grandfather, like he was the trigger, but he really, I was never able to exchange with him on that topic. But along the way, mentors, coaches, people who believe in you, people who went on the same path before you, made a huge difference. Like totally, just advice, trust, chances. Hey, you know what? I see. Like one of the biggest breaks I had at some point, it's this. I was trying to sell something, and I called a company that was holding the exclusivity on selling the product in hotels. And I was lucky to call during lunchtime, and the person who picked up the phone was the CEO because his assistant was out for lunch. And he heard my voice. I was like innocent, very confident, almost cocky. Like, oh, hi, I have something to sell. Can you like take a meeting with me, And he's like confused, like, okay, sure, come tomorrow. And he admitted later, he's like, I picked up the phone. I was curious, like, how confident you were, like almost naive, like, oh, like I'm selling something, you should buy it, And I had a good proposal, and he said, okay, you know what? Like, I was very young, I was like around 19, 20, and he said, yes, let's try it. And that was like an opportunity. Like he gave me my chance to, he believed in me. He mentored me as well. He gave me feedback and points I could improve. But massive difference. If like, I mean, I had the guts to call, but he had the courage to trust me, the vision to believe in, someone younger. He was probably around like 50 years old, and I was like not even 20, and he believed in me, and it had an impact on his business as well, like potentially, So that was a huge. He saw himself and me also, like we always do when we see like when younger entrepreneurs come to me now, and I can recognize some of my patterns and what motivations I've had, and so I always try to give my advice when it's someone asks, obviously. But So yeah, that made a huge difference.
I'm gonna ask a follow-up on this topic because it comes up a lot. So how do you know what kind of people you want around you? And how do you know which advice is good? Because people are
Mhm.
not in your shoes, and a lot of people give advice nowadays. So how do you
Yeah,
know who to have around you?
it's a good question. I actually had this thought this week. In the current project we're doing, I asked for like we had like a shift we had to do recently, and I asked to a lot of mentors and coaches around me, people I trust, like about their advice. And if I was asked the question you just asked me, like what advice you should take, I think you should take nobody's advice and you should just follow your gut feeling that's built on everybody's advice. So you like kind of listen, listen, listen. It's not one person's advice that you should follow. And my advice, and you shouldn't listen to it, is don't take anybody's advice, you know? And it's as an entrepreneur, you have to make that decision. Say like, hey, I believe in what I'm doing, and you have to believe
Mm,
enough that you would convince other people to believe in you, believe in whatever you're building, whatever you want to build, because you need people
mm,
to come buy what you're selling, help you build it. So the best advice is like, I don't think anyone
mm,
has a good advice for you. What they have is their opinion, and you have to, listen, put in your head, figure it out, and then go out with your own, what you think is best for you.
Okay, let me read this. Creating innovative technology solutions that empower individuals to age gracefully and comfortably in the familiarity of their own home. Did you get into this because of your grandpa?
So no, I didn't. Josephine, you talk about like the current project or the current business we're
Yes.
building. It's called Josephine Care. Josephine was actually my grandmother's name. On the other side, not this grandfather. And I love the name. It's very soft. It worked well in French and English. It was just a perfect name. It felt right. My grandparents passed away when I was much younger. Like I was not even 18 when everybody was gone. Unfortunately, rest in peace. But the the real, I mean, there's inspiration from them, obviously.
Mhm.
I never got the chance to live with them and have to take care of them. I was too young. I also they lived in Lebanon, so it was not. I didn't really grow up around them. But the real inspiration came from my niece. So my niece has like was born with a very severe handicap, and so yeah, before I was doing this, um, yeah, I was doing like agency work where I was helping like other businesses build their own startups. Um, and I just,
Mhm.
it was great. I was able to help businesses grow. I was build technology. I always bridged the gap between technology and business goals. But at some point, I was with my sister at the hospital, and I realized like the kids around me, like like they were in a very different situation than I was, and I was like stressing over like a website or like changing the color of a button or some things that are very meaningless um, when you like when health or well-being is like compromised. So I stopped working that day. I closed my laptop, turned off my phone, and it really kind of like hit me. And I'm very lucky to be in a good position, healthy, in a position to help, and a mind, a network, and I should be doing more than just like build technology for other businesses. And so it shifted my energy towards like a more impactful business, like society, helping society, helping something. Unfortunately, I couldn't build anything to help my niece. So I turned to what's next. My parents, they're aging, and so that's where I started thinking about like what I can do. Started talking around me, and everybody had a story where they have a parent living at home alone or a grandparent living at home alone, and they're worried for them. And so I started exploring that side, and that's where the true inspiration came from, and where I decided to put more energy and more focus on that.
Mhm. I mean, it's obviously a very emotional topic, and I think all of us have felt this way about people around us, especially family. But getting into the field is not that easy. It's a complicated field. I mean, especially when you're a startup. Can you talk a bit about that industry? Do you feel like it's been neglected? Do you see like there's an opportunity there for young startups like yours, or are there a lot of active players? Tell us a bit about it.
hmm Yeah. It's a tough industry. You keep in mind that like when you're dealing with aging or um, old folks residences. You're dealing with end of life care, right? You're dealing with people who are you know, towards the end of their life. So, which is sad in a way. And you're trying to build technology that has purpose. You try to build technology that's helping them in a good way. You don't want to do something too intrusive or annoying. And I always remember that
Mhm.
like my grandfather, he had to go 3 weeks, 3 days a week to get I don't even know how to say in English, like dialysis, like when they change, if they filter your blood. And on the days he wasn't going to the hospital, he wasn't allowed to eat like a list of food to keep it alive. And my grandmother would always like yell at him because he kept eating all the food he wasn't supposed to. And he said, well, listen, I'm dying. Like, let me eat whatever I want. I'm going to die anyway. And it was kind of that idea is like, yes, he was still going. He still like went once every other day he was going to the hospital. It was very painful. Like that day he wouldn't be able to do anything, but he wanted to live at the fullest on the days that he wasn't going to the hospital. So it's kind of the same idea. It's like you want to keep them at home, you want to keep them well. You don't want them to wear a bracelet or a necklace, you
Mhm.
know. You don't want them to be, monitored by cameras and watched and like change their life in a way that's like it's not a happy life anymore. So I realized that the market wasn't doing that. Like a lot of solutions for aging or surveillance and aging, monitoring and aging is based on wearables, something they must wear, which is not something like, and they're not pretty. The necklace is not pretty. The necklace, the bracelet is not pretty, and other solutions are based on cameras, based on microphones, so they're very intrusive. So what I wanted to build is something that gives them um, a nice way to live, peace of mind to their families, and not intrusive, and not something that they have to wear. That's really where I found the niche and I found the opportunity. The market has a lot of good players, and especially in Quebec, you have other my competitors technically, companies like Living Safe doing something great, like a very nice device. And when I'm asked about my competitors, very often I'll say, like if my competitor succeeds or I succeed, what we did is we accomplished that we helped the family live better, someone live longer. That's all that matters. Like we're competing for people's better life. Like that's great competition. Like let us, like anybody who succeeds at that, like brought something greater to the world. I'm happy if they succeed. There's a lot of money to be made. It's a big market, so I'm not too worried about that. But we're doing it for the right reasons. So that's
Mhm.
why we're happy to see our competitors succeed as well. We're inspired by them. I'm always trying to collaborate with others. But it's a tough market because education in healthcare is always tough. Like we're introducing a new product. Like how does it work? Is it intrusive? No, I'm used to this other
Mhm.
thing. The wearables are very well adopted, but they're not very efficient. So how do you change the mindset? It's like, oh, man, it's okay. I have the bracelet. My mom has the bracelet. Like, okay, but does she wear it? It's like, oh, not really. I don't know. I'm paying for it. It's okay. We want something that's reliable. Something that's always going to be there. So Josephine is there for all for people. So we're trying to do something
Mhm.
differently because I think we're doing it the right way.
Okay, Sleiman, I mean, the aging population is obviously growing. People are living longer. So the market, we don't expect it to get any smaller. On the
Mhm.
contrary, is going to keep growing and growing. So tell us a bit about what you're doing. You talked about the balance between being uncomfortable and being intrusive. So what do you actually do? What do you actually provide? Where's that balance? Where's that niche that you found?
Yeah. It's a good question. See, the way we built our solution, it's in a non-intrusive way. So what I mean by that is that we have binary sensors. I'll show you one. It's this big. We install about 10 of them in a one bedroom apartment and we pick up the data. What we built is the intelligence of to analyze the data, the binary data in the context of an old person living at home alone, and to figure out the first part is reactive analysis. Like, did they fall? Did they wake up at this morning? Are they showering? Did they shower today? Did they eat today? So all this reactive, like immediate kind of behavior that could be critical. Like if they don't wake up at the regular hours, this is weird. If for it's been a while since we've seen movement in the apartment, but they're supposed to be there, this is weird. So we notify the families by SMS. So there's no app to download. It's not like there's a new dashboard that you have to track your parent on. If there's a problem, if something critical is happening, we'll detect it because that's what we built. That's the intelligence we built. We'll detect it and we'll notify by SMS immediately the families and say, hey, there's something weird with the behavior. Can you please go check? check on them. Like call them, go visit them. If they're in the residence, tell the residents, or escalate immediately the message to the residents through our system. So that's the first part. The second part, which is the most interesting one, is a predictive analysis that we developed months in advance based on research. We're able to tell from the biomarkers we pick up that something will happen. We can detect heart failure 6 months in advance with the biomarkers we have and say, hey, potential heart failure 6 months in advance, saying, hey, it's the behavior is changing. We've collected data. We see that they're waking up later, they're moving less, and they're opening the fridge more frequently. These are signs shown in the research that it could lead to potential heart failure. This could mean potential heart failure. Please bring them to the doctor, and let's check it before there's something critical happening. That then it's harder to like once there's a fall, once there's like an actual health problem, it's harder to check, right? It's harder to just 1 second. So it's harder to validate, to not to validate, to like adapt after that. Like if there's a fall, like the risk of like living well after that, it's much reduced, right? So we detect that early. We tell them bring them to the doctor, and we can keep them alive longer.
My immediate question is this generalized or is this personalized by individual? And
It's
if it's
personal.
general,
Yeah.
yeah, so go ahead.
I mean, if it's generalized, so it is personalized. Everybody's different. Like if you wake up at 6 and I wake up at 8, we'll know that. So I'm not gonna be worried at if you wake up at 6 and it's like 6:30, we're still okay. If if you wake up at 6 and it's 9:30 now, this is weird. You know, we our algorithms adapt on case by case basis. So every time we have a new uh, customer to get into our system, there's a baseline of events that is kind of general to the public. Like
Mm,
people shower at X amount of time, they wake up at X, hours. So for the first 10 days, it's not very accurate on the person's behavior. It's not personalized yet, but we have a baseline that we understand. And we're building that baseline in a more accurate way based on the more cases we got. Our demographic is growing. We got more and more clients. We're able to have a better baseline for the general system. But after about 10 days, we become more personalized to you specifically, like your wake up hours, your shower times. If your average shower time is about 7 minutes and all of a sudden you're at 12, this is weird. You know, if I take like 12 minutes on a general basis, like it's not weird that I'm there for 12 minutes,
mm,
But if I see an increase in my 12 minutes going to 14, 16, 18 over time, that means it's taking me longer to shower. It might mean that I have like a pain somewhere. It's harder for me to shower. Something's bothering me.
mhm,
So it's hard, like, if that average is growing over time, for me specifically, then it's weird for me. If yours is like always around 7 minutes, then you're good. It's not weird, like it's for you. So it is personalized. It is like, eventually we get
mhm.
smarter and smarter per case.
You said that it takes about a certain amount of time before it gets personalized. So if I were to use the service today, how long before, not exactly, approximately, how long before it can give me these accurate predictions? Because 10 days is a very short amount of time. I mean, it's barely a week and a half. And sometimes a routine change takes weeks or months to be identified. So how do
Yeah.
you
So 10
how do
days
you
is
look at
not
this?
enough. 10 days is not enough for the predictive analysis to understand or to make proper like analysis or like proper evaluation. But 10 days is enough for us to readjust your baseline. Like we have 10 days where you wake up. We have 10 days where you go to bed. We have 10 days where you shower like maybe 2 or 3 times in these 10 days. So it's enough for your baseline to be reestablished. And like after that, it's like the longer you're in the system, the smarter we are about you. But after 10 days, it just becomes more of your patterns. And we'd say 10 days, this is like a little bit more than a week, right? Like it's a week and a half. We become more not accurate, but more personalized for you. And then at 11, 12, 13, 14 days, like it's just getting smarter and smarter. It just confirms the baseline further. And after that, we can kind of like compare to your own um, behavior. Like the next 10 days after the first 10 days, it's like, okay, does that still make sense or is it completely off? That means the 20 days is not an actual average. We compare so we do like 10 days blocks. We compare to the last 10 days. And if it's like kind of similar, we can get more confident about your baseline. And then after a month, after 2 months, then it's like, okay, this is clearly their wake up hours, this is clearly their average shower times, then we get like very confident. But in the reactive analysis, we don't need that much. Like reactive analysis being, did you wake up this morning? Did you
Mm.
shower this, in the last 48 hours? Did you eat in the last 24 hours? Are you moving? Like, did you like fall? That is very obvious in the data, and we don't need that much. But we become smarter about you on what's odd in the long term after about 10 days.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's the obvious question that I haven't asked now. How do you know if they showered? How do you know if they ate? I mean, the
Okay.
sensors detect movement, but doesn't necessarily mean
Mhm.
I did what you think I did.
So eating is a different case, but I'll tell you about shower. Shower, we have a humidity temperature sensor in the bathroom, and we have a motion sensor in the bathroom. So we know if they're moving in the bathroom, and we know that the humidity, usually when you shower, the humidity will go up and then will come back down. Like that's a kind of a straightforward way to explain it. You have different cases. People shower differently, and that's something we discovered. Um, Between like a male and a female, it's a very different pattern for the humidity. Like a male usually just like will have like a very um, like a mountain type of curve. It's like, okay, humidity goes up, boom, stops, and then it goes back down. And then like we detected pattern in female, it's a bit more like where the water will be stopped for shampoo, will be stopped for conditioner. So like there's like waves, like so there's humidity peaks, like multiple peaks, which is very different, between male and female. So that's something we eventually figured out, but that shows a shower, and then there's like the humidity complete decrease that the shower ended. And if we detect motion in the rest of the apartment after shower has ended, the water is turned off and the humidity is completely going down, then we say that the shower was successful. That's a like very straightforward way to say it.
Is there a more nuanced categorization? You talk about male, female. What about age groups? What about different regions where they live? Is that also taken into consideration?
So right now we're focused on North America and like Quebec, Canada. So our data is very localized, but the way our system is built, it is built to be able to be analyzed in regions. For example, warmer areas where showers are more frequent potentially, or humidity is always higher in general, if they have AC or not, or so that will impact the data. We have like once the sensor is installed, we pick up the reading immediately to create like what's the bathroom's average, what's it, not average, like current humidity. Do they have a fan that turns on or off that changes how like fast the humidity goes away? So it is like we have a lot of details that impact our readings. So right now we're in North America, so it's very specific, but depending on age groups, depending on gender, depending on are they in the residence or not, depending on like all these factors, we take that into consideration. We have a lot of parameters that we put in, and then we make analysis. So right now we're capturing a lot of these parameters. We don't have enough. Like we have 300 customers that we have in the residence, but the more we'll get, the more we'll be able to make sense of like the differences and the nuances and the demographics, their location, their gender, their
Mhm.
ages. And I'm actually very excited about that part. Like to be able, and as a data scientist yourself, I know that's something that, probably like triggers a lot of ideas in your mind. At some point, we'll be able
Mhm.
to get an even better algorithm, even better analysis, and increase our
Mhm.
intelligence. We're not there yet, but we're working towards that goal.
Simon, we're running out of time, but I gotta squeeze a couple more questions in.
Sure.
First of all, who's the client? Is it the person itself? Is it the caretaker? Who do you deal with?
So it's the caretaker or the residents. So the product is designed for the privacy of the person itself, the old person, but who's receiving the messages, who's paying the bill, is the family, so the caretakers. So that's our client. Like they're receiving like the peace of mind we sell it to the family. The real client is the family who needs to know. And often the old person doesn't want anything. Like they're proud, they're independent. Don't put anything. I don't need
I,
anything. I
I,
don't want
I was
cameras.
I was I was gonna ask that. Like, do they sometimes approach you, or is it the family that's always like, we need to monitor him, we need support from him, like, or is it sometimes someone who says, I want someone to monitor me? Like,
So
do you sometimes get that?
so we get the families mostly because they're the ones with access to like search and the network and they talk around. But every time I went to I install myself like the sensors. I meet the person, I meet the old person, and they're always very, and that was like super touching, like very grateful. They always have a story. My friend fell, my sister fell. I'm worried to fall. I'm worried that no one's gonna find me. They always like they know the importance of this, and they're happy that Josephine doesn't have the intrusive part of the cameras, that they don't have to wear something. They love that part, like they don't have to wear something. And they're like, okay, and my family's gonna be okay, and I'm gonna feel safer. And that feeling when we get in at first, the first minute, it's always tense. Like, it's like you're a stranger, you get in someone's house, they're like, they know technology's coming. And then as we start talking and we explain a bit more, they know what's going on because we're invited to come in, right? But they tell us their story. They tell us like why they accepted to put it in the first place. And then as we leave, they're very grateful. And you feel the shift in energy as we like, as we exit. It's about 15 minutes to install. And that part, I always love it because it reminds me every time I install, it reminds me why I'm doing this. And they're always like, "Thank you, I'm happy." And always when I pitch the company, I always say we're there for old people living at home alone. And I always end by saying, "But with Josephine, they're not alone anymore." You know, and that's pretty much it. Like we're there, we know what's going on, we feel the house, and we can notify if there's a problem.
And I love that. I'm going to end with this, Lemon. A lot of people don't have anyone to take care of them. A lot of people don't have a family. They don't have anyone around them. Have you considered, or do you actually provide the service for individuals even though they don't have anyone? Like, can you, like a call center or like a police station kind of system? You get what I'm saying? Is that part of your services? Is that something you've thought about?
Yeah, so it's very unfortunate for those who don't have anyone. The system is designed to work without, because not only sometimes people have someone, but they're busy, like they're traveling, they're not even in town. So we have two escalation levels. The first one is to a caregiver that's like a paid service that can be set up. So you can set up as caregiving service where if
Mm,
there is an emergency, someone is paid hourly to go and check. And you can also extend your deal where they check regularly even if there's no emergency. So that's like a caregiving service. And there's also a other escalation level where it's a call center that calls the emergency services like 911. So that's in case of like no one's answering. So because when there's a critical situation, we send an SMS and we require a confirmation that that was received. No movement detected for the past X amount of time, or hey, the temperature is very high, the AC seems to be broken, it's very hot in the apartment right now. Please go check it immediately. If we don't get a confirmation from someone who's receiving the message that something happened, we escalate to an emergency service. That has to be set up
mm,
in advance, but we escalate to a 911 call. We say, hey, and when we have the whole profile of the person. We keep like a very secure like a profile of like the health condition of the person, like who they are, their names, all that, so we can provide that to the emergency service. Then they can show up and take care of like the situation. That's the final escalation. Unfortunately, if someone has no one in their life, they still have to find us, be referred somehow to like find out about Josephine. And that's less likely. Hopefully, with good PR, if we're talking enough people, it might be on TV. They might see on TVA Nouvelle where like they're paying attention, and they hopefully can call us so we can come and like take
mm.
care of that the installation, and they can feel like someone's taking care of them, and Josephine can be there for them.
Or maybe collaboration with the government itself. So,
Yeah,
um, Simon,
it's hopeful.
thank you so much for doing this. I mean, it was a fascinating conversation. I got
Thank you,
so many
Antoine.
questions, so many thoughts in my head. I'm glad there's people like you tackling this problem.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time you took and the questions you had.